the model being applied for Liwa National Park and Bangulu National Park. I was just amplifying the submissions from the permanent secretary in that respect.
Your name again?
Richard Mwamba.
Mr. Mwamba, you mentioned things and we've got verbatim in this committee. That's why I said repeat what you said. Now you are becoming very economical with your words. I heard you, the committee heard you. That's why I wanted to verify with you. And I've asked a question to say, what is government participation in Liwa and Bangweulu? You just explain the government participation and how it's different from the Kafiwe. You're the commercial person. Then members will come in and myself. We just want to understand. We've got the background. Don't think we don't have. We have. So now we just want to authenticate what we have. Is that on the ground or what? So don't be economical. Explain. You are the technocrat. What is in that agreement in Liwa, which is good? And what is government participation? Vis-a-vis revenue collection, participation, everything. Explain for Liwa and Bangweulu. Then members now will come in. That's what I mean. You can proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. Pertaining to the agreement between government and the African Parks Networks in respect of Liwa National Park, it is more of a delegated model. African Parks manages Liwa National Park. In respect of revenue collection, it is done by our partners. But we have officers we have assigned to the project to undertake conservation works and other related works pertaining to the management of the national park. When it comes to Bangweulu National Park, Bangweulu wetlands, we have got.
Just hold on. Where's she? Okay, just hold on because we are off air, so we can't have. But where is she? Huh? So we don't want. She's always not here, so I think we need another. We need a new one. Okay. So, Mr. Mwamba, you can proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just to repeat what I submitted, I would like to state that in Liwa National Park, government has partnered with African Parks Network and the Barose Royal Establishment relating to the management of the park itself. When it comes to law enforcement activities, we have got the officers we have assigned to the project who operate within the park with established operating procedures. When it comes to revenue collection, the revenues are collected by the board.
Mr. Mwamba, you submitted earlier that are collected by your partners, who's African National Park. Then you are saying by the board.
Can I retract that, Chair? It was just a mistake. The revenues are collected by African Parks Network.
Oh, yes.
Yes, for Liwa National Park.
Go to
Yes.
Bangweuli.
Suffice to mention that I should also be quick to state that there is a board in place to oversee, the management of, the park with representation drawn from DNPW. Then we have Barose Royal Establishment and African Parks itself. Then proceeding to Bangweulu, we have a board in place with representation drawn from the African Parks. Then we have Department of National Parks and Wildlife. Then we have also got...
Mr. Mwamba, to guide you, let me guide you. The government, the most important issue of the government participation is revenue collection. Who collects the money in those parks? And you've told us that the board, forget about the board, whatever composition of the board, who collects the money? That's why those people, when they came to sign those agreements with you, they were looking at them collecting money and managing the parks. What are we doing under the government? We are spectators. Then the PS was highlighting that Liwa is being managed well. Being managed well in the sense that maybe they are populating the parks, but for their own benefit, not the government. Period. As we speak, your rangers are being pushed out of that park, and it's a good agreement. Bangweulu, we are not in charge of what's happening there as a country, as a government, and yet we are saying there are some good models. Honorable members, that's explanation from Mr. Mwamba. But finish. We don't want to cut. You can proceed. I just wanted to guide you on those two issues. Revenue collection, that's why we're here. It's the money for the Zambian people. You can have boards, but it are non-functional, where the money is being collected by other person who's in charge. You can proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair, for your guidance is well noted. For Bangweulu, similar to what is happening in Liwa, we have got a board in place with the representation from the community. Then we have representation from African Parks and from government as well, through the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. What is predominant in terms of revenue activities in Bangweulu? It's revenues from hunting. So what happens is that when hunting licenses are issued in Bangweulu, monies are deposited into the Department of National Parks account in Mpika. Then at the end of the year, those monies are shared across the three parties. I may not be privy to the sharing ratios right now. I wanted to speak to the figures, but what I wanted to say is that money is split, and a larger percentage is given to African Parks, then another percentage is plowed back into the community, paid into the community account, then the remaining percentage is given back to government. That is the arrangement in respect of Bangweulu.
Thank you, honourable members. That's a status quo. So in short, we don't have we are not in charge of revenue in Liwa, in Bangweulu, and the larger portion doesn't come to the government. That is the bottom line. I also want PS to come and elaborate the period of the concession for Liwa and Bangweulu. Then we get back to Kafiwe. Honourable members, are there any questions? Honourable Mfarare.
Chair, the question of why the delay from 2016, I think the commercial manager or director can elaborate further. To us, we want to know. Since you are saying part of the delay, let me just say this, part of the delay, if I can get it right, was that in his statement he said there were apprehensions that were arising from the people that were in the park. That's Kafue National Park. And because the model of Liwa was going to affect those who were already in Kafue National Park. And I think it would be important, since the ministry is actually aware that actually the Liwa model is not the best, because it clouds out, it pushes out some people who are supposed to be part of it. And I think that's why even in Kafue National Park, the pushback that was coming from the operators who were already in Kafue National Park was arising, because they knew that that business model for Liwa is not a good one. It's pushing out other people to participate and gives monopoly to this monster called the greater landscape or whatever, greater Kafue. So it must be very, very clear. We want to know why the stakeholders were pushing back, or they are still pushing back. With that pushback, could the ministry give us this agreement, and we should see whether the Attorney General, the Accountant General, they approved on this so-called agreement that they had to, that has gone on, which has been running for the past 5 years to come to terms. So can we, I think in short, can we just have those on the table so that we are able to know for the benefits of the Zambian people?
Thank you. Honorable Lumai.
Chairperson, while we appreciate the efforts this government and the PS are trying to put in place to resolve these matters, the interest of this committee, ours, is to look at cash inflow to raise our GDP. And from the explanations so far, it's like, while we feel we are Zambians, but there's this other powerful team who has the authority to run our parks, collecting our money. We don't know even how much they collect, what they do with those national parks. Therefore, these efforts being put in place to resolve these issues, we appreciate them. But it seems it is taking long, because this is the second year in power of the new Doni government. And the interest to have the documentations before this committee, it will help this committee and also the ministry, because we're going to find a roadmap to resolve this issue. So my question then goes to the controlling officer. 1 year and some months in power, PS, what steps have you taken to resolve these matters? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Mkosa. Nothing. PS, I think there's a question from Honorable Mfarari and Honorable Lumai to that effect. I would want you to categorically answer those questions and provide those documentation for your directors, the agreement, the guarantors of that company to that effect to this table, so that the Office of the Auditor General can look at them. Then we intend also look at them and appreciate. And also, especially the question which has been asked by Honorable Mfarari, I want you to answer it effectively. You can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the aspect of the delay of and the pushback, I would like to assure the Honorable MP here that there is no pushback in Kafue right now, because when we looked at all these other previous agreements, as we have said, that the Kafue National Park Agreement is a collaborative agreement. It's not a delegated model. So we had to improve on what we are doing. And it's not to blow our own trumpet when this thing has been dragging from 2016 to when I was appointed and I was guided in terms of what we need to do. Within 3 months, Chair, we had to make sure that we change the model of what was proposed for Kafue from a delegated model to a collaborative model. And these models, the agreement has been cleared by the Accountant General and also our Attorney General before this agreement was signed. There have been meetings with stakeholders in Kafue to ensure that the welcome of Africa Parks and the model in terms of how they are going to work, it is there. We are going to provide, I think maybe not today, Chair, because we didn't come prepared with the agreement that we have signed, that the collaborative one, as you have said, to lay it on the table. But suffice just to say that the way the model in terms of finances, as you are saying, you are interested much more in finances, on the revenues basically for Kafue National Park, the agreement is to put back the money. It goes all to Control 99. So Ministry of Finance collects all the revenues. Our own staff, DNPW, they are the ones that are going to be collecting money. That's the way the contract is. So no money goes to, or rather they don't collect any park fees or bed levies unlike the other agreements. So this is a totally different type of agreement. And all monies go to Control 99. And then we now put back into Kafue National Park on law enforcement, on conservation, and also ensuring that all the loop roads, making sure that Kafue National Park becomes a gem in terms of tourism. So that is the way it is. So for us as a ministry, and when I came and found that there was this issue which was dragging on, within 3 months, Chair, I think I need to be commended and like actually being told that you were delaying, because this thing started in the previous regime and they were not signing. Until we came in, we signed within 3 months. So for me, that is something that we need to be commended. And we changed the model from the previous models that they were agreeing to, you know, which is a delegated model.
PS, we only commend you when we look at the agreement, because there are a lot of concerns to that effect, not only about revenue. There are concerns on defense issues. We are concerned on the concession period being a tool. All those things, we want to see that they've been mitigated. Then we'll say, PS, we've done a good job. But if they've not been mitigated, because there are a lot of stakeholders, as you see, Kafue National Park is vast. And there were a lot of issues which were raised prior, I think, in that ministry. That's why it delayed. Those are some of the factors we've had, but we want to see the agreement and then ascertain to say, yes, PS, you've done a good job. But you can proceed.
So, Chair, will be able to give you the document, and then you'll be able to assess basically with the agreement that was done for the UWA and also for Bangweulu, and then you compare it also with Kafue National Park. I think that's basically what I captured, unless there's a question that I've not answered, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mfarari.
Since this agreement, collaborative partnership agreement, has been signed, it will run for how long?
Yes, PS. What's a concession period?
Chair, for Kafue, it's a 20-year agreement. It has a 5-year review. Whether if we are not happy, we can be able to terminate it. So we had to learn from the other agreements that were there. For Liua, I think it's 18 years, which was signed. For Bangweulu, it was, I think, 14 years, if I'm not mistaken. But this one has got reviews in terms of what we agreed. And when we avail the agreement, you'll be able to basically look at all the clauses that are in this agreement. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Wamnyima.
Thank you, Chair. PS, just clarify on the 5 years review. What are the terms for the 5 years review? Is it a probationary review, a performance review? Can you be clear?
Thank you, PS. You can proceed.
So, Honorable, that's a performance review. We have milestones. There are certain things that government has to do, and also what our colleagues AP Networks have to do in terms of, first of all, the base where we are for purposes of wildlife population, in terms of the species and what we've agreed to be able to regenerate the park, and also in terms of helping us from law enforcement with DNPW, vehicles for basically patrolling, uniforms, and for our staff, and a lot of other things. So purely it's a performance agreement based on what we have put in the contract, what AP is supposed to do and what government is supposed to do.
Honorable members, are there any questions, or we ask? I think PS have guided you on the documentation to bring. Take note of those documentation. We need them. This issue is not resolved. For us who just said your submission is not conclusive. Before Honorable Mfarari comes in, basically on this one, we have not concluded anything. Honorable Mfarari.
Thank you, Chair. For the knowledge of the committee, I think there was a matter that was arising from the committee on the dictation of user fees. That's one of the areas I think some stakeholders were apprehensive with this deal to come through on Kafue National Park. Who dictates the user fees in your agreement?
Thank you. Honorable Lumai.
Yeah, Chair, as I want to support your submission that maybe after we have received the documentations, then all matters will then be picked up from there. So I thought that maybe we can, for now, wait from them to bring the documentations, we study them, so that we can make a proper progress. I'm trying to avoid the situation whereby we can find ourselves at the sea. If it will be Atlantic, Chair, where there are waves when you are in the air, then the committee will be lost. So I thought to support your submission that as for now, these matters, we cannot probe them further until the documentation is put on the table and the committee has gone through. So I thought to make that submission that maybe for now we can hang on.
Thank you, Honorable Lumai. Maybe PS, you can just answer Honorable Mufarari's question, then now we can use to, okay, Honorable Wamnyima.
Chair, is there any special reason that this agreement was not attached to? I don't understand why the controlling officer is comfortable to appear before this committee, submitting that you have a partnership agreement, and you don't come with that agreement. So is there any special reason that we've been subjected to a deliberation where this agreement is not before this committee?
Thank you, PS. You can answer those two questions, then I'll guide you now on the documentations and the way forward. You can proceed.
Well, in terms of the way our submissions and the audit was done, why we couldn't attach the collaborative agreement for Kafue National Park, basically been raised as a right, I think, in terms of the concession agreement, but this is a new concession agreement signed now. That's why we could not attach it. Just to remind me, Honorable, just for Honorable Mfalari's question, what?
Who dictates who collects the user fees? Yes.
So the one who dictates, basically, if we are coming from where Department of National Parks and Wildlife dictates the user fees, and what we have in the new agreement is just we will dictate, but in the board, because of the way it is working now, the board will have to look at those rates to be able to go forward. And this is why when they approve those rates, and then they will be able to be subjected basically to the controlling officer as well. So it's the same element where now two parties will be involved, DNPW and the AP, but they will not dictate on their own and say this is the rate. No, this is why we have to do it in collaboration. If we are increasing anything and how we are managing the park. And this is why at the end of the day, all the monies go to Control 99, and then we request as a ministry in terms of our budget going forward what we need to run Kafue National Park, and they disperse that. But the dictation comes from us as DNPW.
Thank you, PS. I think that agreement of yours is very weak, PS. Very weak in terms of even what you've submitted yourself. It tells us who dictates, who approves, who's got the power. It's clear. So I don't think anyway. We honorable members, I think we need to proceed and make progress. PS, you need to come back. We are going to proceed, but you need to come back and finish this issue. We want the clearance from the Attorney Generals. We want Accountant Generals. We want the agreement. We want the board composition. We want to know who appoints the board. We want to know the guarantors of that Greater African, whatever is mighty, or Greater African, Greater Kafue. We want the guarantors. We want also the guarantors of the African National Network, whatever park network. We want to know and have a basis so that we understand where this is emanating from. I think those are the documents we require from you so that we can come and finish this issue or restart this issue, because it doesn't even started. We're just asking questions and there are a lot of gaps to that effect. Honorable members, we can proceed to other issues. Yes, can proceed. Page 3, you can proceed, Honorable. Page 4?
Yes, page 4, which is weakness in monitoring and management of hotel managers and tourism concession. I think my main concern is on TDCF, failure to collect revenue, then down to the missing title deeds on page 5. Who collected these title deeds and who was keeping them? Where are the title deeds that were given by the 30, is it 14? 14 title deeds which were submitted as collateral for loans in amounts totaling to 2,229,782 are missing as at 31st August 2022. The missing title has not been presented for audit. And in their response, there is no indication whatsoever to show where the titles are. Actually, for me, if you look through, you would see that there is no response indicating that these title deeds are missing. They have glossed over. The responses are not showing, are not there, in short. So we needed the appendices for these title deeds, or who is keeping them, because they are missing. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daka.
Thank you, Chair. Controlling officer, this tourism development credit facility, the loans have been outstanding for more than 17 years now. And we have 33 beneficiaries who have not even paid anything. The committee is at sea now to look at such occurrences in your ministries. I mean, what efforts are you putting in to ensure that you recover government revenue from these beneficiaries? Can you put us to speed? I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Daka. PS, these title deeds were collateral. Can you put us to speed what happened to them? As asked by the honorable members, you can proceed.
I would ask my licensing person to just help, but this is an issue, of course, which is inherited as well in my office, but I had to try and look at what actually happened in this particular issue. In terms of the missing title deeds, they were initially being kept in the chab, or the strong room, which is it's a safe, the bigger safe actually in the PS's office. And when I think there was a change in terms of the PSs, and they wanted to take measures where those title deeds are, then they were missing. That's the story I got. And these title deeds were transferred basically to be kept in custody, I think at the Ministry of Finance. Now, that's where basically they were being kept. And this matter of missing title deeds has been reported to the police to pursue those that had actually placed them, and also we alerted also the ministry.
Yes, those who were there, can we be serious? We can't be talking about losing title deeds and we don't know if that Ministry of Finance is collateral. So those who were there, can you help the PS? We tell us where the title deeds are. Let's not be talking about missing title deeds. Someone brings a collateral, you collect, you register them, you keep them in the safe, then they go missing. That's not right. So PS, can you assign those who were there to answer and tell us where the title deeds are? Because they are not paying back. How do they collect back their collateral if they finish paying? You're already saying they are lost or they're missing. You can't say that.
Chair, through you, Chair. I mean, the system is very clear. The security against these loans was the collateral. Period. And in the situation in which we are now, where we have lost the collateral, that explains the whole reason why these people cannot even make an effort to pay back these loans. Chair, this is very, we as a committee, we are at pains. Because you can see the syndicate is very clear, Chairperson, here, that there was crookedness in these whole things. Officers, can you take these things seriously? Don't take us for a joke here. We understand what is happening here. Where are the officers who are there when this is happening? When these things were happening? I submit, Chair.
PS, guide us. Who was responsible for collecting these title deeds as these loans were being processed, and they can now tell us, especially those who've been in the ministry, who kept the titles, who signed when the beneficiaries brought these titles, and if they were transferred to the Ministry of Finance, there should be a documentation. Accountant General, there should be a documentation to say so many titles have been transferred to Ministry of Finance, signed for by Mr. So from the Ministry of Finance, having collected the titles. Is that not the way the procedure is supposed to be? Accountant General or Controller, what's the procedure?
Chair, if there is any transfer of documents, it should be documented and both by the person delivering and the person receiving. And in this case, I wonder what was the motive of the documents moving to finance, because the loans are managed by the ministry themselves. The ones that are managing the revolving fund is themselves, not the Ministry of Finance.
Can you, PS, can you assign, Madam, are you the one answering? Can you state your name and proceed and give us the answer?
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Jilala Mayanda Habasimbi. I'll try to answer the question through the PS.
Don't try and answer the question. Answer the question. We can proceed.
Thank you for your guidance, Chair. The documents were received by the Department of Tourism through the Director of Tourism. And in terms of specifically the officers that were managing the system there, unfortunately, they are not in the ministry right now. And the director that was that time in the office, unfortunately, he's late right now.
Madam.
Yes.
The director didn't die with the documents. I corrected your colleague yesterday again, the same issue. Don't bring those issues here. We are not interested. Government keeps documents. Those documents should be there. Whoever signed for, like Accountant General is saying they were signed for, if you transfer them, they were signed for. So we want documentation to that effect. Are you the one sitting in that office now? Are you the one acting in that office?
Chair, the substantive director is not in the country. I'm just acting on her behalf.
Thank you. PS, if you don't give us these befitting answers, we'll send you back. Go and bring whoever was there. If you continue pushing us in that direction, we'll send you back, because we don't want those lame excuses you're giving us now. So if you don't have an answer, tell us you don't have an answer, we proceed. You can proceed with submission.
Chairperson, thank you. I think we'll request that we come back to give a proper answer on that one.
Honorable members, there's no answer for the issue of there's no response for the issue of title deeds. We don't know where they are. We don't know who got them. But there's a procedure in government. Yes, Honorable Kalalwe. Then Honorable Farad, you can proceed.
Chair, I was of the view that we give them time to go and look for the documents, so that they need to bring the titles.
Thank you. Honorable Mfarari.
Thank you, Chair. I think the ministry is big. The ministry has officers that should be take responsibility when certain things arise or the audit queries arise. This laissez-faire kind of attitude is not entertained by this committee, or will not be entertained. We are quite serious when it comes to these issues. There's no way title deeds just disappear and members of staff come here with the permanent secretary and they're telling us they don't know who collected those title deeds. No, it's unacceptable. It's quite unacceptable. You must know where these title deeds are. There is money involved here. And if you are showing this kind of laissez-faire attitude towards the public funds or towards public monies, it's unacceptable. You must know where these title deeds are. If these title deeds, at the time when they were missing or they went missing, have you put a caveat so that these title deeds cannot be reduplicated or they cannot be given to another person? So all those efforts should have been, you should have provided to this committee the efforts to show what you have done to ensure that you are protecting public funds. I think the laissez-faire kind of attitude the chair is quite appalling. You can't continue doing things like this. And even in the answers, they made sure that they didn't even say anything towards the title deeds that are missing. Yet they have these huge sums of money that are pending to be paid. And from the time they were collected, not a single ngwe was paid towards that money. And then you come here telling us, no, someone went to Ministry of Finance. It's unacceptable.
Thank you, Honorable Mukumbi. Then Honorable Lumai.
Yeah, just to write down Honorable Mfare's question. If you put caveats on those title deeds that are missing, if somebody picked it,
Honorable, they can't put caveats. They don't even have the they don't even know the numbers. They don't even know where they are. They don't even have the serial numbers. How are they even going to put caveats?
Well, Chair, what would happen if I'm one of the clients, then I manage to pay you off? What would you give me back? Because I'll need my title. What expectation do you have for me who has paid you in full and I want my title back? What would you give me? If we all just keep quiet and say, well, they're missing, we don't care, what will you give me? I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Lumai.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, on the same issue, there's a submission that travel restrictions due to COVID-19 imposed on civil servants to limit the spread of COVID-19 made the Minister of Tourism not to collect funds. So I wanted to get a clarification, maybe first from Minister of Finance, as to whether the Minister of Tourism did not have any mechanism, because this is 2021 we are discussing, and we are told this 9 million could not be collected because they were not allowed to travel to go and collect this money. I thought in these provinces we have got officers who can collect money. So if they're saying COVID-19 travel restrictions imposed on them, they could not collect this money, I thought maybe Minister of Finance can help us to understand before they can come in themselves.
Thank you, Honorable Lumai. Honorable colleagues, I think we'll keep going around circles because the Minister of Tourism is not providing the answers we need. Me on that one here, I've written a lame excuse because we don't want to hear that COVID lame excuse. From time to time, it keeps coming. There should be other mechanisms like you are saying. Here I've written lame excuse. That's a lame excuse, and we're not going to entertain that. Let them find a befitting response. The way they were giving these loans, they should have a mechanism. They don't need always to travel, go everywhere, and then that's when the money will be collected. They went, how much did they collect? 81,000. I think I've seen somewhere there. What did they do? They went, traveled. How much did they spend to travel, then collect 81,000? It will be the same thing. It's going around circles. I don't think they're giving us answers. P.S. Maybe you can answer those questions from honorable members. Otherwise, there's nothing.
As I've said, in terms of just what measures did we put in place to be able to follow up on these missing title deeds. So we had also to write, I think, the documentation if required to be able to do that through my office. I've written to PS Lands as well, in terms of just maybe they can be other people who collected these documents and they can be able to use them. Yes, in terms of just the people who are now in the ministry, I think we will not be able to give you adequate answers, because when even this, and I agree with you, obviously people must have connived. How do you open the safe and get the, into the safe and then they get missing? So that is an old legacy issue which we have to unfortunately deal with. Otherwise, we'll be wasting your time.
PS, just a point of order, PS. It's not an old legacy issue. This is 2021 and 20. It's just a few years behind we're talking about. And what we want, PS, we want people to be responsible. Even you don't take that burden. Even what you're doing, you're just helping them. Even writing to people should be punished. People who behave like that, there are government regulations, there are civil service regulations. They should be punished to that effect. Because for someone to go and put things in the safe, if it's in the principal accountant's office, if it's in the PS's office, there should be a person from another department, the witness. Even when you're taking things, there should be internal audit who sign. If it's issuing office is under HR or whoever should sign, the PS is given a copy. There's no way documents can miss in government, especially title deeds. PS, there's collusion, and they should not mislead you. Whoever officers were there, if they're on transfer, we want them back to come here and explain what they did, because that's now theft. They're conniving. Even what you are doing, you're just trying to help the situation, PS, but don't even labor. People should be punished. That is what's important. Punishment should be meted to those officers. They shouldn't even be transferred. Someone is even sitting in another ministry, they'll do the same. They should be punished to that effect. I just wanted to help you on that. Don't labor, people should be punished. So we want those officers. If you are coming back tomorrow with those documentation, they need to be looked for, and they should come here and explain what transpired and what they did to that effect and why they did that. And they are not fit to be in civil service. Yes, Honorable Wamnyima.
Thank you, Chair. PS, I've taken note of your response that you've written to Lands. What informs your letter? Because the title deeds are missing. I would really want to read this letter. And further to that, it's unacceptable that we have one of the officers saying one died, the other one acting. Why are they still there? Why are they still in the ministry? Why do they even still have their jobs? You are now controlling officer. What corrective action have you taken? Because to write a letter of title deeds, I think you're writing by faith, because what numbers are you referring to? Even the PS Lands is received that letter to look for which, what is he looking for? Which number? Can you assist us? I don't understand.
Thank you. Honorable members, I beg that we proceed. We leave these two issues, the issue of concessions and the issue of title deeds. We move to the next one, so that even as PS comes back, we can look at these other issues. So we can proceed. The next question. Yes, sorry? We're not getting responses, yes. So, Thank you, honorable members. So we can't continue because we're not getting answers. Thank you so much. Auditor General, is there anything before I proceed?
Chair, thank you very much, and I appreciate PS's submissions, but like you've guided, I think we'll proceed that way. The office will be ready to be witnesses, permanent witnesses, the next time that the PS appears. Thank you.
Thank you. PS, I think I will have no choice but to want to send you back and get the necessary documentation we've highlighted to you, issues of title deeds. If not, find those people. They should come and explain. And also the committee will give recommendations, because they should be meted with punishment. And all these other issues which are hanging, we don't want some of these lame excuses. Can we have befitting answers to some of these submissions so that we can progress? We want to proceed also and progress as a committee, then we keep laboring back and forth, back and forth. This is pertaining to what is being submitted to this House. So let me take this opportunity, PS, to thank you for your time and your team. The clerk will advise. I think your people will liaise with our clerk as and when you can come back and finish this session. Let me take this opportunity now to lift the immunity which was conferred before you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.
This is greatness on high rotation. This is the DSTV Nation.
Take it away.
We start with the moment, and we own it. We devote it. We black and we proud. BET, and it's loud. The music, the magic, just fanatic. It's Illmatic. Then we amaze and we blaze with the craziest craze and the craziest kids that cook and create in the craziest vids, learning stuff that we wish that we did. Then beware, we're in for a scare. It's a ghostly affair. You'll laugh and you'll scream, split at the seams. This is greatness made for your screen. Now, hold up, stop the track. Launch an attack with the quack. We gonna fight and ignite, show some might and a light. This is the best thing on TV tonight. Now, we're all flying with wings, cause we got the same heat that DSTV brings.
Mom, Dad, little brother, big sis, grandpa, and grandma. Everyone's going to be smiling when you upgrade to DSTV Family. Because there's something for everyone. Like unmissable, must-watch international series.
Why is he in here?
Fascinating documentaries, real-life crime and medical dramas, as well as the hottest lifestyle programming.
I'm earning some cool husband points here.
The best of Bollywood, including blockbuster movies and award-winning telenovelas.
So much love in the air.
Authentic local stories celebrating the heroes, communities, and traditions of Africa.
That's so good, Andy.
And of course, fantastic European football action with La Liga and Serie A. And to make you smile even more, you get this family-sized entertainment for a lot less than you think. So, upgrade to DSTV Family today using the My DSTV app and keep everyone you love happy.
This is Doha, this is Qatar, this is the World Cup 2022.
It is time, once more, for the world to stand still.
Stand still? Nah.
We move.
We come together tonight, a billion of us, in every corner of the globe where the beautiful game matters.
Here for the show-stopping magic of a moment.
And the explosion of
hope and glory.
Brothers, sisters.
Unwanted people, I party them.
We come here for heroes.
And heartaches.
Heartache? Come now, Peter, we're not here for that. Not this time, mate.
Get and stay connected to DSTV and watch all 64 matches. Here for every fan.
You're really so messy!
Live on Supersport.
On Oyo constituency, we profile one of the most prominent constituencies in the country, Munali constituency, located in Lusaka province, covering the northeastern section of Lusaka. It is approximately 6 kilometers from the capital central business district. Munali was delimited into a constituency in 1964, and since then the population of the constituency has grown to over 170,000. The constituency houses the highest learning institution in the country, that's the University of Zambia. Munali has a teaching hospital named after 3rd Republican President Dr. Levi Patrick Manawasa, and the only college that offers psychiatry courses, and this is the Chainama College of Health Sciences. Munali constituency also houses various shopping malls. The constituency has had a total of 8 members of parliament. These include Mr. Mainza Chona, who served in 1973, Mr. Rupia Banda, who served from 1978 to 1983, Mr. Simeon Kampata from 1983 to 1988, Mr. Ronald Penza 1991 to 1996, Ms. Edith Nawakwi from 1996 to 2006, Ms. Mumbi Piri from 2006 to 2011, Professor Nkandluo from 2011 to 2021, and the current Member of Parliament for Munali constituency is Honorable Mike Mposha. This is the Munali constituency office, situated off the Great East Road. The office facilitates a smooth coordination of the constituency activities. The office gives an opportunity for the people of Munali to interact with their Member of Parliament on issues affecting them.
I'm calling upon them to work with me and also to utilize the constituency office, which is allocated in Chainama, which is rather located in Chainama area around the Stadiro, just opposite the Stadiro shopping complex. Let them utilize the constituency office. Go in there. I have my professional assistant there and my team there. Even when I'm here at the ministerial office, the office is open and for them to engage me. And I'm locally based in the constituency, so they must feel free to either contact me directly on the many challenges or also utilize the office which the National Assembly has provided for us. And we must thank our institution, the National Assembly, for ensuring that like in the past, when members of parliament had to be followed to the chambers, now we have offices and we have the members of staff who are doing a great job to ensure that there's continuous interaction between the electorates and us, the elected representatives of the people.
Munali Member of Parliament, Mr. Mike Mposha, now highlights the challenges the constituency is currently facing.
For a long time, this constituency, if for lack of a better way, didn't have so much attention in terms of attending to these challenges. So we have, for example, schools, a number of schools, like I said, but with the very limited school places, and this also contributed to a number of our youths, being found to be dropouts because they could not find spaces in these schools. And now with the newly introduced free education policy under the New Dawn government, our New Dawn government, we have a lot of pressure in trying to get school places for the people around the Munali constituency and those coming from slightly outside the Munali constituency. Another problem is the poor road network. You may wish to know also that quite a number of settlements in Munali constituency were unplanned settlements. We have huge, great talent in Munali constituency, but I must say that the sports infrastructure is extremely dilapidated. It's non-existent. So that is another challenge. We also have the high levels of unemployment among the youths, most of whom have turned into bad vices of abusing alcohol, abusing drugs. You've heard this term of, gangs like fluffies, junkies, because of one, high levels of unemployment, but also peer pressure, where people just go out there and begin to indulge themselves in illicit drugs, abuse alcohol. The issue of also clean and safe water in the constituency is still a huge challenge. Quite a significant number of our electorates, our residents in Munali constituency have no access to clean water. This is another challenge. And also land for future developments. For example, the population is still growing, and we need to build more schools. We need to expand on learning facilities, health facilities. But in Munali constituency, we've exhausted the land for such expansions. So these and many more are challenges that affect our people in Munali constituency.
The Member of Parliament is determined to change the lives of the people of Munali for the better.
We are already planning. I think this year alone we want to concentrate on ensuring that we support fully the free education policy by ensuring that one, most of the schools are assisted, with ensuring that we expand the capacity, the infrastructure capacity, so that we can accommodate more pupils in the schools. And with the increased constituency development fund allocation from 1.6 million starting from this year to 25.7 million kwacha per year per constituency, our focus there will be to support the free education policy by ensuring that most of the schools are assisted. We also want to concentrate much on connectivity, road connectivity in the constituency. So we want to pump in a lot of resources, the CDF resources, in ensuring that we work on the roads. By the time my term of office will be finishing in 2026, I want to see to it that each and every ward we've worked and improved on the recreation facilities, on the road network. We also want to work on the problem of unemployment, which I alluded to earlier, through CDF. When we say we're going to procure desks, we want to identify cooperatives, we want to identify young people who are in the business of carpentry and also welding, who can work on, who can manufacture, the desks and supply to these schools, so that the money which the government is giving us, allocating to the constituency, can evolve around job creation in the constituency. We also want to ensure that we provide piped water to the areas where they have no water. And we want also to deal with the issues of sanitation. We need to migrate a lot of people who are using pit latrines to migrate to flushable toilets, particularly in Mtendere East.
Honorable Mposha assures the people of Munali of better things to come.
I want to assure them that under my leadership there will be accountability. I want to ensure that all resources attached to Munali constituency, there will be accountability, and they can count on me that there will be no pen which will go unaccounted for. I want to appeal to the people of Munali constituency again that let's work together in planning, in executing these plans. They'll be seeing more of me going out through the churches to speak to the many issues we are planning in the constituency, and I want their input, because everything I'm trying to resolve in Munali constituency is meant to help our people in all the 6 wards.
Mr. Joe Kaluba, who is the professional assistant at Munali Constituency Office, now talks about his role.
My role as a professional assistant for Munali constituency is the first one is we are frontline for the member of staff. For the member of parliament rather. So we are frontline. So my role includes one, representing the member of parliament when the member of parliament is not there. Then running the office on behalf of the honorable member of parliament. My other role includes coordinating activities for the member of parliament, meaning that I have to have on my fingertips all the stakeholders that we have in the constituency and those that we are working with in the constituency. So just to add on that, I have to make sure that they're up to date with the information about the member of parliament. If the member of parliament is needed for a meeting somewhere, I have to make sure I go as an advanced party to make sure that everything is in place, also to coordinate the time that is coming, the time that is going. When the member of parliament is in the constituency, I have to accompany the member of parliament wherever he goes, so that I take notes of what is happening, because at the end of the day, I have to follow up the things that people maybe want, or maybe the activities that are needed to be followed up. My other role is also to supervise the staff at the office, and to make sure that we are in line with the Code of Conduct of National Assembly, and of course promoting and encouraging people to visit this office. This is a non-partisan office, so if you have looked at the history of Mnali, a number of political parties have, the UNIP was there here, and also MMD, FDD, PF, and now we have the United Party for National Development. Honorable Mposha is representing that party. So this office is a non-partisan. National Assembly in its own is a non-partisan. So when you enter National Assembly and this office, you don't put on the party regalia. That is number one. And this, as an office also, I forgot to add this, we also give guidance to members of parliament in all the offices, in constituency offices, to give guidance that no party regalia in their office. So anyone can come, they can come at any time as long as it is working hours.
Since the introduction of constituency officers across the country, the officers have acted as a bridge between constituents and members of parliament. Therefore, members of parliament have a constitutional duty to interact with the public and assist the public with access to basic services.
My name is Binwo Chansampundu. I was born on the 9th of October 1982 away in Mufrila. It's a place called the Place of Abundancy. By then my father was working for the National Service stationed in Ndola back then. And so I did my primary school and then proceeded to do my secondary school education at Kawamba Boys Secondary School from 1982 to 1998 to 2000 when I completed. I straight away went to study accountancy. Then we had a program that was called NATEC. I think those who are very familiar with accountancy program in Zambia knows that NATEC then was the course for the tough boys. And so I miraculously did that course within 1 year, 6 months, when the prescribed time frame was for 2 years. So I boast myself as one of those that defied all odds to do the NATEC within a very short period of time. After which I had a stint with a group of companies where I served as an accountant, having risen from an assistant accountant to having served the group as a chief accountant. Later in the years, I decided to quit work and pursued full-time politics. So I had a stint with the private sector for about, if not 6 years as an accountant, and then went on to obviously do a bit of some business alongside politics. So I officially joined politics in the year 2006. when I officially joined the Patriotic Front and quickly rose through the ranks and file. I started as a young politician in a branch where I headed as a chairperson. It was a branch called Kwashamkwenu in Mindolo, and then quickly rose through to the ward, and eventually I became a constituency youth secretary for Nkana constituency, where I am MP now. So I have a very interesting history with Nkana, because when I served as Nkana constituency youth secretary, I was chosen as at some point as a campaign manager for the then candidate in one of the elections, the general election we had, Mr. Kazabo. So I had quite a lot of experience in managing elections. And so in 2016, I then thought that it was my time to become MP, and then I went, I tendered in my application to the ruling party then, which the Patriotic Front, to be considered for adoption. But I wasn't obviously lucky, even though I was a front runner in that, adoption process. And so the progression was that after I was left out in the adoption process, I think, in my view, as a way of consolation, I was then appointed as district commissioner for the great city of Quito, where I served for 3 years. So I've quite a lot of history with the city of Quito, having served in the various capacities as a political figurehead, where I rose up to the provincial secretary of the ruling party here on the province. And then got delinked from politics to become now a public servant by way of the appointment I got as a district commissioner for the great city, where I served from 2017 up to 2020, when my contract was not renewed. As it were, a contract is subject to renewal, but my contractual term was mad with a lot of controversy, because others thought that I was positioning myself to take over from the then who was MP for Nkana. And so a lot of fights ensued in the process, and then the powers that be decided that I must be put on the bench to see others take over. And so when time came now for the adoption process again for the 2021 general election, again I came forward to make an application to the ruling party then, the PF. Again, the repeat of 2016 confronted me. I was left out of the adoption. Look, I always believe that when you live in your father's house, you may not know how much a bag of meal meal costs. So when I was left in the 2021 adoption race, I decided to confront my demons by going solo. So I decided to stand as an independent candidate in the last general election, the 2021 election, and the gods were with me. I managed to beat my fierce rivals who were from the PF as well as the ruling party. And I'm very proud of the milestone we scored during the election, because you wish to know the numbers were very huge. I competed with 7 other candidates, and all those candidates put together, the votes they got could not even come close to what I got as an independent candidate. And I think that the public is aware of, the financial aspect of the last election. It was quite a heavily financed election. Competitors had a lot of money, and I was one of the ones that were referred to as the whipping boys in terms of finances. I had a very weak, if you like, a very lean, financial muscle, but I managed to, pull a surprise and beat all my rivals. And so here I am as an independent member of parliament for Nkana. I was very fortunate in my young days that I found, a beautiful young lady away in Mufrira, a place of abundance. Remember that I was born in Mufrira. It was only prudent that I must go back to Mufrira to find, my missing rib. So I found a lady called Nandeka away in Mufrira, who I married, 13 years ago, and has given me 3 beautiful children. I've got my firstborn son, who is already doing grade 8, Sean Luimba Chansa. My second-born daughter is now going into grade 5. She's Skylar, Lukundo Chansa, and we have a 2-year-old last-born daughter who is, Shanice Mumba, named after my mother. Nkana, a very interesting, constituents, which basically is the cosmopolitan part of, Kitwe. Kitwe has got 5 constituencies, namely Nkana, Chimwemwe, Usakire, Kwacha, and Kamfinsa. So the almost the entire elite part of Kitwe is in Nkana constituency. So we, are proud ourselves to be that constituency which we actually call as Nkana, because Nkana, Kitwe is actually, the other name for Kitwe is referred to as Nkana. So the name Nkana constituency literally mean Kitwe constituency. So I'm very proud to have been elected by the people of Nkana to serve them. Now, Nkana has got a very unfortunately disturbing history in that from 1964, there's not been a single MP that has gone beyond 2 terms. So even when we were going into the election, the previous guy who held the seat knew very well at the back of the mind that it would be, a happy battle for him to win this election, holding to that issue of a one-term, syndrome for the constituents. And so, being in this position, I'm very alive to the fact that I may serve for 1 term, but you see, I am beginning to, form a narrative, or I'm trying to create a narrative, namely that I defied all odds to go beyond the 1 term, scenario that has been set for Nkana. But you see, that can't come easy. It will call for a lot of work. The needs of Nkana are quite known. I have been in the constituents so much that I know the needs of the people of Nkana, and I'm very excited now that I am serving at a time when, the approach towards development has shifted. Because previously the role of an MP in as far as development was concerned was confined to a very meager allocation, which was called the 1.6 million towards the CDF allocation. But today we have been gifted by the new government to have quite a colossal sums of money, colossal sum, which I think that if you are very focused as an MP, you can play your politics very well to, actually win the hearts of the people. And so my desire is that we can, change the narratives by ensuring that we address the challenges of our people. Now, the other interesting part of Nkana you wish to know is that we are an elite constituency. We are the economic hub of Kitwe, because we house 2 mining giants. I don't know how far we can describe KCM, whether it still falls as a mining giant, but we can proudly say we house 2 mining giants, which is Mopani and KCM. Now that tells you that part of our, or rather 90% of our wealth in the constituents comes from the mining sector. And so we are very, cognizant of the efforts that are being made by the new governments towards the mining sector, because if the mining sector fails, then the whole constituents collapses, because every other economic activity that happens in Nkana is predominantly attached to mining. Let me also stretch it further to say that the economic activities of the copper belt, the entire copper belt, are anchored around KCM and Mopani, meaning that we as Nkana, we are the ones who keeps the entire copper belt. And so we proud ourselves. But you see, unfortunately, these things haven't been commensurate with what, our people get at the end of the day, because you can't continue to boast about being a mining giant, yet your people are living in abject poverty, yet your infrastructure is, nothing to talk about. And so this is basically what the narratives we're trying to change, namely that if you say we are a mining giant as a constituency, I think everything else must show. Your people must live better, your infrastructure must be better than every other infrastructure in other constituencies. And so that is a mammoth task that for me I am holding on as an elected member of parliament. And so the other thing that I can proudly say is that I thought that I would be stepping in a very difficult terrain, having, gone through as an independent candidate. But I think that, for me, there's nothing that is as exciting as a politician to be independent. I think that what is, currently happening, in terms of development, is not inspiring. Nkana must be the best constituency, in terms of because we have the comparative advantage. Other than what government is able to do, we have the stakeholders, because 90% of the business spectrum in Kitwe, they operate in Nkana. And you know that there's no way a company can be operating in your constituents without paying back by way of social corporate responsibilities. So we desire to bring all these stakeholders together so that they can also make a contribution to the well-being of our constituents. At the end of my term, I am actually not focused on 2026. I am focused on the next 4 years, because you know what messes politicians is always to look for the next election. For me, my focus is the given time frame that I have been given, meaning I am supposed to limit my focus within the 5 years that I've been given. And within that 5 years, for me, I want to address the issue of education. There are certain places within Nkana where young people have to walk miles to access secondary education. There are places like Mugala compound, Kamakonde, where young people beyond grade 9 or beyond grade 8, they have got to go to far-flung areas to access education. There are places in Nkana constituents where, you know, people have to struggle to get, you know, clean water. There are places within Nkana where, you know, people have to, you know, walk miles to, you know, access health services. These are things that, this is a bridge that we want to gap. Because I don't believe that an elite constituency like this one, people should be walking distances to access health services. They should be walking distances to access, you know, quality education. I think that the parameters within which we are operating now permits us that we can address all those inequalities that have existed over time. Coupled with the, you know, the participation of the private sector, I think that in the 4 years, I'm very confident that the narratives from Nkana are likely to change. And so my promise to the people of Nkana is that they did not make a mistake by electing me. I will do everything within my powers, you know, to ensure that that mandate that has been bestowed on me, you know, we can walk away after 5 years saying we made the right decision. That is also not to forget the fact that, you see, there's always this contradiction. A member of parliament is elected to enact laws. That's why we sit most of our time at parliament. But you see, you know, society has also placed extra responsibilities on us, such that failure to do those responsibilities that you have been given by society, you can actually be punished. So we have no option. The only thing I can say to the people of Nkana is that ride with us for the next 4 years and we are going to see miracles.
My name's Frank Simush Mayungo, even though the Frank is not on the official documents, but I've used it throughout my life. Born in 1969, 52 years old this year. I come from Skongo district as well as Kalabo district. Dad is from Kalabo district, whereas mom is from Skongo district, and I opted to stand from mom's side, that is the Skongo district. I did my primary education at a school called Liumba from grade 1 up to grade 3, and Liumba is in Kalabo constituency, and then Dad was transferred to a school called Stapa Primary School, which is in Skongo constituency. That's why I did my grade 4 up to grade 7. Thereafter I passed my grade 7 and went to a school called St. John's Secondary School in Mongu. That's where I did my secondary education. In 1988, that's when I completed. In 1989, I went to the University of Zambia, where I studied the agricultural economics, completed in 1994. Then because at that time the government was doing restructuring of the ministries, so I could not get a job in the Ministry of Agriculture. I joined the Ministry of Education as what they called an trained teacher, but of course I taught agricultural science and biology at Linda Secondary School in Livingstone. Then in 1998, that's when I joined the Ministry of Agriculture, posted to Kafiwe district, where I was working as a senior agriculture officer. up to 2002. Thereafter, I went to do my master's degree in Belgium, where I studied human ecology, specialized in sustainable development. I came back to Zambia, and I worked for about a year. Then I joined the Ministry of Finance, where I was posted to Eastern Province to be the chief planner for Eastern Province. 2012, I think 2013, I lost my job. Of course, the reasons are obvious, issues that are common in this country. I stayed without a job. I started just doing my own things up to 2018. That's when I joined the World Bank project in Western Province called the PPCR. And then it was a contract for 1 year. I worked as a monitoring and evaluation consultant. In 2019, the contract ended, and that's when I decided to join politics. And I opted to vie for the Skongo constituency seat. Fortunately, went through the elections campaigns. I was adopted on the UPN ticket, and we are here today. Yeah, Skongo constituency is, I would say, I always say Skongo constituency is one of the least developed constituencies at the moment. It borders Shangombo and Liua constituents, as well as Kalabo constituents, and also it borders Angola. So, in terms of development, I think the constituency is very, very, very undeveloped to a large extent. And one really wonders why we found ourselves in that situation. 58 or so years after independence. But I think the reason is simple. I think Skongo has been neglected by successive governments to a point where, if you talk about education, for instance, we just have, I think, 39 schools, primary schools, some of which are community schools. Health facilities, I think we just have about 17 health facilities in different categories. You have got health posts, then you have rural health centers. But really, nothing much to talk about. In terms of road infrastructure, the only road that we have, the Kalabo-Skongo road, is still a gravel road, and the gravel is just because it's a road, but it's in very, very poor state. There are no buses that go to Skongo because of the state of the road. During the counter time, that road was well maintained. We used to have UBZ move on that road. But today, it's the opposite for us. We had UBZ in the 80s. Today, we have gone back to Scotch carts. If you go to Kalabo, what you see mainly are people moving using Scotch carts as the main mode of transport, whether for transporting agricultural products or the human beings themselves. So we have a big challenge in terms of development, but I always tell people that I think with the coming in of the new Dawn administration, there's some sense of hope that we are going to see a meaningful change in as far as development is concerned. Why I say so is because I think what we saw in the past, where we are more or less like being seen like second-class citizens, I think that is not the case now. Basically, I think when you focus on the CDF, the increase of the CDF from 1.6 to the 25.7, and then next year we're talking about 28.3. I think that gives us a lot of hope, and it gives us, I think, an opportunity to really do things and develop Skongo constituents ourselves. Because in Skongo constituents, we believe that actually we are going to be, or we are supposed to be, the drivers of our own development process. And I think that's what the CDF actually does. The CDF has been given to us as a constituents to decide for ourselves in terms of what our development priorities are and how we really want to move the development process for Skongo. So just for this year, out of the 25.7 million that we are given, in terms of infrastructure development, I think we have 40 projects that have been approved. Amongst those 40 projects are issues to do with mainly education and health. We made sure that all the incomplete structures that have been there, we've had a lot of white elephants in our constituents, because in the past we found the MPs were just building, you are saying you're building a health post, a classroom block, but you're just doing it maybe up to window level, up to slab level, and then you leave it, and then you move to another site. So we have a lot of such. So what we decided was it's pointless for us to start with new projects when we still have all these other structures that are not being used. So we pushed a lot of money to those so that we complete them. And then we come up with the new other projects, like we currently we are doing a police post in Nyengo. We're also doing a storage shed. We're also doing maternity wings. We are also doing a lot of mother shelters, apart from the housing for teachers and the health facility and the health workers, as well as, of course, classroom blocks for the pupils. So as Congo constituents, in terms of its development, I think it's anchored on agriculture. We have a strong comparative advantage in as far as agriculture is concerned. And when you talk about agriculture in Congo, basically we are talking about rice production, we are talking about sweet potatoes, we are talking about cassava, we are talking about wheat, which we have introduced. Right now, we have demonstration plots for wheat. Wheat used to grow in Congo in the past. In the 80s, I remember when I was still a young boy, wheat used to be grown. But I think it was stopped somehow, maybe due to the fact that we had a milling plant, a bakery in Kalabo, which was quite big for Mr. Kayangola. So by the when that bakery, the business ceased, I think even those who are growing wheat also lost the market. But we've come back because we've realized those are the kind of crops that we need to push our farmers to grow, because there's a lot of money in wheat. 50 kg of wheat costs roughly about 850 kwacha. Over the years, people of Congo constituents grow rice, especially on the plain, because Congo is made up of two sides, the plain and the upper land. The plain generally floods during the rain season. So with that flooding comes with it a lot of water, which is used for the growing of the rice. And now what we decided to do is when the water subsides, when we harvest the rice, then we are pushing in the wheat. So what I'm saying is the coming in of the CDF for us is a big opportunity in terms of changing the direction of development for Congo constituents. But also, the other important aspect that we need to talk about when you're talking about Congo is the proximity to Angola. Angola gives us a big advantage in terms of the market. Angola right now has needs a lot of products, almost everything else that Angola needs. I think they have to import, apart from the oil which they have, but oil also which is needed for us here, because we get our oil from far-flung areas, Middle East, Russia, and so on. But Angola is just about 30 kilometers from Congo. So the border with Angola is very near. So we want to exploit that huge market which is in Angola. Already we are having discussions with the Angolan consulate to see how we can supply products to Angola, because they need agricultural products, they need hardware, they need meat, that's beef. So, but all those things we can supply them from Congo. We have a lot of livestock in Congo. So what we are saying is, can we try and improve control the livestock diseases to an extent that we're able to meet the standards that are required in the international markets. If we do that, then we'll be able to create a lot of jobs for our people, we'll be able to bring in a lot of revenue that will come and help us develop Congo. So for us, what we are saying is, we want to make sure that even as we grow the rice and the wheat, we don't want to export it in its raw form. We want to add value to it. So what does that mean? It means we need to come up with the value adding industries within Congo itself. we package our products, we do the milling and everything else, and then we can distribute not only to this country, but even to the outside world, because our products are needed almost everywhere else. And that's why we always say, when we talk about Congo, we want to ask the new Dawn administration to do us a big favor by completing or upgrading the Kalabos Congo road from a gravel road into a bituminous road. Because when they do that, then we have unlocked the potential that Congo has in terms of development. There are so many things that we can talk about in Congo. There's also tourism that we have there. We have good planes. We are planning to take animals there so that we can now uplift the tourism industry as well. My word to my constituents is that they should not lose hope that maybe Congo will remain the way it has always been. I'm very, very sure that by the end of the 5 years of the new Dawn administration, Congo is going to be completely different. We'll make sure that the major infrastructure that we are needed there will be built. Schools, hospitals, roads, and I'm sure that the Kalabos Congo road is going to be uplifted, given also the emphasis that the president has put on the market in Angola and how that market can be exploited through Congo. So we've been promised to have one border post. Right now we are going to build a secondary school in Skushi. We are going to build a main hospital in Kalabo. We are building the Early Childhood Development Center in Nyengo. So there are quite a lot of developments that are coming to Congo. And all I can say is let's all work together. Let's pull together as we change Congo for the better.
akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushukila we wakumangula kamunga kolwenga akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushukila we wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kamunga oyo muko wandi wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kamunga oyo muko wandi wakumangula kamunga kolwenga akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushokela we wakumangula kamunga kolwenga akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushokela we wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kamunga chale mafantu korwe wakota asabirwa n'abana bakwe mwimbona mamba muno manine na fielembe kafantu korwe wakota asabirwa n'abana bakwe kwaliaka kwema yotabirilwe mbila ifantu korwe wakota asabirwa n'abana bakwe akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushokela we wakumangula kamunga kolwenga akota sabirwa n'abana bakwe nakushokela we wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kamunga bangwe muko wandi wakumangula kumangula kamunga vangwe moko wandi uwakumangula kamunga vangwe moko wandi uwakumangula kamunga.
Tawi jamile nkono ganza zokosea koma nikamba nyimbo yako mutima wangu shonesea nikamba nyimbo yako pambu zonse zonesea mtima lelo wanena pankani iyi yokusiya nchifukwa chake lero ntetekera zako motema. Oh, oh. Lelo naokana ukali hayangu wonse autuyo kudala chabentawe akudali kwa simbi okongola uko angakusamale zonse tawe nikaluganizapo namba nyimbo yako ya lela pandima kumba monga ili ya mwangu mumtima yeah. Oh. 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 Uyoni wako umkonke kulikonse kwangalute olobwao ulesiai ndaolopakamwa pone na boza mutima ni nsimbi suna maboza konka 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 konke yalala yeah konke yalala yeah konke
In the morning, my Bemba woman is busy preparing water and food for the family. Oh, Bemba woman, you know how to make me happy. You know how to please a man. Sendo mutima wandi na katongo lekankulange ebyo nakutemwa banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwanza banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwanza tubalange ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema woman, I can't wait for the sun to go down. Nabwalia, Mika Pachifuba, let me listen to your beautiful heartbeat. Okufundo mwana wafunde tumulo. Oh my Bemba woman, you got it all. Umo chinchin, chinchin, chikuku. I give you my all, take me away, Bemba woman. Banabwalya eko bali banamwaza banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwaza balange ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwaza banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwaza balange ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi kwesi kulema naseke naseke natemwa naseke naseke natemwa naseke naseke natemwa naseke naseke natemwa susho mutwe atutumone palukobo susho mutwe atutumone pakoto susha 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 bekako banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwaza banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banamwaza ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo tushana mwe banandi ebyo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banawata banakatongo eko bali banachirufya banabwalya eko bali banawata tushana mwe banandi tushana mwe banandi tushana mwe banandi tushana mwe banandi
Wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wamona nombae wala kotera panganda 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 Sauswalia Michikishi Kakwaisaba kufa watampo mulengulira Kakwaisaba kufa watampo mulengulira wamona nombae wala kotera panganda wamona nombae wala kotera panganda Sauswalia wevolume tukae watushombo pakukwae wevolume tukae watushombo pakukwae mapulanga watushombo pakukwae wevo mapulanga watushombo pakukwae wamona nombae wala kotera panganda wamona nombae wala kotera panganda balubazi wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae wekashiandie watushombo pakukwae nakwaisaba kukufa watampo mulengulwira abahumbe bonse abaleisa kuliiwe achitabale mmoneka bwino iyo nomba mwaumenshi okafwaya kubumbi bobe bamapulanga bayisa atumutu etawule mmoneka bwino kusheba amapulanga tamwakwata omuto wakachipale kulekotera panganda umuntu tabifa iyo takwaba omuntu mubi ukuwama kwa muntu mutima walumetuka naimwe mwakokola pakufa ukunombaye ukotera pachibalo ya aiseke nsomokera the producer ngakwaisaba kukufa watampo mulengulwira ngakwaisaba kukufa watampo mulengulwira ngakwaisaba kukufa watampo mulengulwira ngakwaisaba kukufa watampo mulengulwira wenkashiyandie watushombo pakukwae wenkashiyandie watushombo pakukwae wamona nombae wala kotera panganda wamona nombae wala kotera panganda wirakana waumeyo umometa bipawe mwana wange bantu ngaimwe mwakwata obusuma bwa musango kyani indawo engati yange bwalakotera pakibalo ushumpa patunono napatingi pene ekyomutwe voice of lwakola twalanda wenkatiye bwalakotera panganda wenkatiye bwalakotera panganda wenkatiye bwalakotera panganda.
Voila, aye.
Uganda twagandipa kuti boe mekuyande tairiye imilito yagandipa kuti musimbi kubwese tuyatuma lavingi watutola kulino ebo maitia oguya kusegasega wakutola kulino ebo waswega ino nati piruga moe mbonya mbulila indi egaga piruga yajinja milito golanga waswega kambo kuguyanda ndaguyanda kulega mebose andi piruga moe gaga tono galiso mbere wajinja tono galiso mbere wajinja Gatuma foni mazubano bama totambuli Pantu nangu na yesuka yonse kulaka Jefyo mwali na mchinja Jefyo mwali na mchinja Nalemona kwati kuti mwasunga Jefyo mwali na mchinja Conrad Jola Hiamwa Joko Electrical.
My name is Emmanuel Jebanda, Member of Parliament for Petoke Central Constituency in the Eastern region of Zambia, and which is Eastern Province. By tribe, I'm Chewa, but I was born and raised up from Sengaland. Emmanuel Jebanda was born in Petoke Central Constituency, a constituency with 8 ward, and I was born in Koviane ward at Chitimba Primary School, but at Kaulu Health Post in the early 1980s. I started my grade 1 in 1990 at Chitimba Primary School. By then it was a lower primary school, and then I'm sure because of distance and other environment of the community, I was transferred. I went to Nakatete Primary School in Kafue district, Chawama. That's where I did my grade 2, 3, and 4. Then 5, I went back to Petauke at Kaombwe Primary School. It's about 20 kilometers from Chitimba, so every day I used to do to and from about 30 to 40 kilometers daily until grade 6 at Kaombwe, grade 7 I changed school because of distance, so I thought of doing a weekly boarding, which I did it at Chileka Primary School. It was also about the same distance, but luckily there I had someone was accommodating me. Then just after my grade 7, then grade 8, I passed to go to Kaulu. Kauru Secondary School, weekly boarding, but unfortunately, by that time I was sick, so I had to stop school for about 5 to 6 years. Then from there, because of health issues, then from there I went back to Kafue at Kansenja Primary School. That's where I did my grade 8 and 9. Then I make it to grade 10, 12, until I finished at Peroge Boarding School. Then from there, I went to Industrial Training Center, which is ITC in Lusaka, to study motor vehicle engineering. I did there until my advanced technician diploma. Then from there, I went to Abidon Nickel Mine. That's where I started work. I worked there for